You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, certified life coach, pain to power mentor, and creator of Embody You Mindset Mastery School. I'm here today to discuss living life after disease, disaster, or adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilized the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to the life of your dreams, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Live Free podcast. So today I want to talk about hope, and hope in the context of getting through struggles, through times in your life where you're just not feeling the vibe, where maybe there's some sort of extreme catastrophe or something really, really tough that you're going through. And what hope can play in regards to that struggle. So recently I heard a story about a gentleman who had gone through abuse as a young teenager. And not just sort of abuse, he had gone through quite a bit of abuse. And he was telling the story saying that there was a time where he felt very depressed and very anxious, and he felt that he wanted to end his life. And this was at a mid-age. And after that, an experience that he had gone through, he had asked his mother, basically, why does God let bad things happen? And his mother replied with the advice of, because he's preparing you for your purpose, basically. And when I heard that, I could hear all this dinging going off in my head, like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense now. You know, it was just like everything, all the puzzle pieces just fit together, and suddenly I just understood. And so I've always known this. If you listen to my podcast, you know that I have always attributed my cancer to growing into my purpose, but I had never attributed all the other things that had happened in my life to prepare me for the big thing that was then going to lead me to my purpose. So, to give you a little bit of context, so lately I have been feeling pretty tough, to be honest. I've been feeling just kind of low, feeling that the resilience that I once had that said, you know, I can put a positive spin on this. I can create this silver lining. Lately, I've been feeling like that resilience is just tapped out. If you follow me, you know that some of the side effects of the medications that they've put me on since going through my cancer journey have not been easy, not at all easy. They create all kinds of side effects, you know, pain, loss of hormones, and therefore, loss of resilience, easier to stress, loss of sleep, weight gain, you know, pretty much anything that happens to a woman in menopause, but instead I'm going through that menopause at 30. So you can imagine that the side effects are fairly extreme, as well as a normal menopause takes like 14 years or something like, 14 to somewhere between 6 and 14 years to complete, whereas mine happened in 24 hours and has truly only been in its full swing for about 6 months now. So So you can appreciate and imagine that the side effects that I go through, they are extreme and they are really difficult. And especially when you come out of a traumatic experience like cancer, you would think that there's some reprieve afterwards. Unfortunately, that has not been the case. So I bring this up to give you an idea of just where my resilience has been lately, and perhaps maybe where your resilience has been. And to give you even more context, prior to this, I felt that I had gone through, a fairly heavy childhood. I mean, of course, I understand and appreciate that I live in a first world country and that things are very good for me, and that I have parents that love me, and it could be way worse. And that's I'm not bringing this up to compare by any means, but just to help you understand the context of my life and some of the difficulties that I went through that I felt, were more than enough, right? So I written a short list of some of the bigger things, and some of them are a messy childhood divorce that I went through, multiple sexual assaults, a loss of my parent, which was very, very sudden due to cancer, a very toxic relationship in my 20s, as well as multiple failed businesses that I tried to create financial stability, and they did not work. And then finally this cancer at 21. And I started to feel, and the reason I bring this up is because I started to feel that I was the brunt of some joke, that there's this culmination of angels and guides and spirits, and they're all kind of sitting around being like, well, what else can we do to her? And I started to feel very, very frustrated. And I think it's, as I said, all of these side effects that I deal with on the daily, as well as just all of these past traumas that I've always been really good at having a silver lining with, and lately I've just not had the energy to do so. So I started to feel like the brunt of some joke, and it really, really aided to this victim mentality of just feeling really that the universe was the offender and I was a victim. And as much as it's important to feel these emotions, it is really important to feel these emotions. It also can cross a line where it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy, and you just start to feel like everything is really difficult. And I really felt like I needed a bone thrown. And then, I went into this launch, and I was just so busy and all of these sorts of things. And I really felt really quite low. And, and this is me being really honest. And so then I heard this story the other day, and it just lifted me in a way that was just really, truly beautiful. And I think that maybe I can use this experience as a parallel for you for some of the pain and some of the struggle that you're going through, so that you can help to understand some ways that you might be able to get through the struggle that you're going through. And that is hope. And that is truly, as he spoke about, this ability to reframe and create purpose in the pain that you're going through. Number one, it is so important to feel it. You cannot silver lining your way out of everything. It's not possible. You do have to feel that pain. You do have to sit in the sadness. You do have to stand out in the rain and let it hit you and just cry. Those things are all so important. And then there needs to be a shift, right? So we talk a lot about, is it time in the course, we talk a lot about, is it time to numb? Is it time to feel? Or is it time to shift? And truly, it's about having the emotional intelligence to know which stage are you in. Do you need to avoid this at this time and just, hit the Netflix and just not, because you're just not ready to deal with it? And can you allow that to be okay? Followed by, now is it time for you to feel it, to really sit in the rain and let that pain wash over you and let that be okay? And finally, is it time to make a shift? And for me, it was listening to that audio from that gentleman. And I wish I had his name off the top of my head to credit him, but I didn't write that down before I started. But anyway, so that was for me the shift. And so how I'd like to transmute this into you is to say that how can you, once you've done the numbing, once you've done the feeling, how can you shift? How can you create purpose in your pain? And for me, it was just truly understanding that all of the things that I have gone through, some of the larger things that I talked about here, that all of the things, they created a resilience in me. I became stronger, quite a bit stronger, so that when cancer hit me, I had all the tools that I needed. I had read all the books. I had done all of the introspection. I had feverishly researched this stuff as if I was in school for 12 years before I was diagnosed. And, it's now been 14 years since I started feverishly researching. And everyone kept saying, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? You need to have more fun. You need to be lighter. And I kept saying, I don't know, but I just feel so pulled to do this research and to learn and to become a student of the healing arts and self-help. And so when the cancer diagnosis came at 31, I believe that I was prepared through the processes of pain that I had gone through that prompted me to start to research, the process of pain that prompted me to research with more vigor, and finally to have to utilize all those tools and then to find out that there was some tools that I had never learned about that were crazy important and truly missing from all aspects of self-help and self-development, which I now teach in the course. And so all of these things, all of this pain that I went through, I'm able to find the purpose in it now, to understand and fingers crossed for me, to understand that this was my big thing. This was my big shift. This was when my life trajectory changed, and I finally aligned with my purpose. My purpose of being that life coach, of helping women and being seen. And so, if that's the case, if that's true, then that means that nothing was for naught, that all the pain that I went through had a purpose. And so I invite you to allow hope into your life, to allow yourself to feel that these painful moments that you're going through, perhaps this is the shift that was meant for you. And now I don't want you to get into story about, all this painful stuff that I'm going through and now I'm going to get cancer. That's not what I'm saying. It may not be aligned for you to go through this process. It may be that the thing that you're going through right now is the shift. Okay? It may be that the shift is not painful. Maybe you are listening intently to what the universe is telling you. Maybe you are following your purpose already, and so for that need, you don't need a shift. You don't need the universe to intervene because you're learning all the lessons as the lessons come up, whereas I avoided them, right? So I'm not sure what your experience is, and as I said, I don't want you to get into story, listen to this podcast, and then come out feeling worse. That's not at all my plan for you or my purpose for this podcast. It is instead to say, maybe you've already gone through the shift, maybe you don't need the shift, and maybe the shift is going to be very pleasant, or maybe it'll be hard. Who knows? And we really don't know. But it's allowing yourself to go with the flow of the universe and to say that none of these things that you're going through right now are for naught. They are either preparing you or they are creating for you the person that you were always meant to be. And what a beautiful thing to hold on to, this idea of hope. And so for me, I hope that cancer at 31 was was my shift and that I am now aligned. And dare I say, if I'm to have another really big shift, perhaps a reoccurrence or something else that I don't foresee, that perhaps I will learn something new, and that in itself will be a blessing. So, I invite you to see your pain as a school of you. A school of you that is creating the you that you were always meant to be, for you to enter into the person that you always wanted to be, for you to enter in a life of joy and ease, and perhaps resilience for the times when you are not in joy and ease. To be able to move through those painful moments quicker, faster, and smoother as a result of all the things that you're going through now. How hopeful is that? So I think I'll leave you here with this idea of hope. And I would love for you to infuse this idea of hope into the pain that you are going through now. Because no doubt we go through pain all the time. Life is not linear. We want so badly to get past all the hard stuff so that we can move into the life of joy and ease. And unfortunately, even for myself as I speak this, I understand that will not always be joy and ease. But I would hope that I'm entering a space with more joy and ease than I've had previously. Say a prayer for me there. So all my love to you. I hope that this has been enlightening and helpful. I hope that you're having a beautiful day and that you allow yourself to feel hope. Thank you so much for listening. If you found expansion with this last episode, then that means that others will too. And the best way to get the word out about the podcast is by leaving a review. I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review and let me know how you felt about the podcast. Included in the show notes will be everything that we talked about today, including all of my transformative programs. Change is just on the horizon, my friend.